introverted thinking, they might seem as dissociating, and actually they might sometimes even stop listening to you. Welcome back to my video. In the first video, I was explaining what is Myers-Briggs type theory, as well as the cognitive functions that every personality type has. Cognitive functions are the basis of each personality type. There are 8 cognitive functions that allow the human mind to interface with the world. We can divide them into decision making and gathering information. In this video, I will be focusing on the decision making functions. These are the mental processes that we use to assess information and also to decide what actions needs to be taken. We will be specifically focusing on the thinking functions. Thinking functions are all about logical analysis. They judge through the cause and effect analysis of choosing actions that will produce the most efficient outcome. These rational functions are helping you to decide and assess the information. Even though we can think of thinking and feeling functions as opposites, they work in constant cooperation. Thinking functions can be either introverted or extroverted. That's how we get introverted thinking and extroverted thinking. Extroverted thinking is focused on the external world. This function is completely focused on the objective order. Extroverted thinking user does not have to have the information intrinsically completely understood or connected to achieve a result. They are more in a relationship with the objective components and the external world. To put this more simply, an extroverted thinking user will be thinking what the people around them are valuing or thinking to be true or false, and they will be highly impacted by the thinking of other people. This does not mean that an introverted thinking person does not care about other people's opinions. This just means that the focus of the external world is different. According to Nardi, extroverted thinking users use their brain resources really efficiently. They focus on hearing words, seeing images, weighing evidence, and then deciding. They draw on other brain skills only when they are needed. Extroverted thinking users can display strong confidence even when they might be wrong. Whatever is the task, the focus of that extroverted thinking user is on the progress and the outcome to get things done. John B came up with a set of keywords that he thought are the best to describe these mental processes. On the surface level, an extroverted thinking user will come across as a regulating. The heart of the process for an extroverted thinking user is planning. The third word embodies what the process will become when it's on its most evolved level. For an extroverted thinking user, that is enforcing. Simply put, an extroverted thinking user will be focusing on gathering data from the external world, from external data points as well as from people, to understand the world and to make conclusions. As Dario Nardi explains, extroverted thinking users save their mental energy. That means, at least for me as a high extroverted thinking user, means that we want to come to conclusions and take actions to make sure we go forward with the process. We are not necessarily using all our mental energy to understand an issue, but rather maybe just to assess it on a surface level. On the other hand, introverted thinking is the internalization of the objective logic. It is seeking to make sense of internally stored elements for their own sake. Introverted thinking user cross-references different components internally. They really seek to understand the relationship between all those perceived components. Dario Nardi explains that introverted thinking users are adept at deductive reasoning, defining, categorizing, and weighing odds and risks. They want to cultivate expertise. Sometimes they tend to draw back to clarify their thoughts. In a debate, they might seem as dissociating, and actually they might sometimes even stop listening to you just so they get more space to think more clearly. John Beebe describes that introverted thinking users on the surface level come across as naming, but on the heart of the process is defining. And on the most evolved level, an introverted thinking user seeks to have understanding. Carl Jung explains that introverted thinking is decisively influenced by ideas. The priority of the thinking works inwardly, not outwardly. To put it shortly, we can think extroverted thinking opposed to introverted thinking as action versus analysis, or utility versus logic. Introverted thinking is such an internal process of thinking that it might be very silent and private. It really wants to break down all the different components to analyze and understand them. Sometimes introverted thinking users might be so excited or get so much joy of the moments of understanding that they are not focused on the action itself. You can notice an introverted thinking person who sometimes comes with ideas to solve a problem that maybe no one else has ever thought before. They might have ideas or different perceptions about things that are not externally agreed upon. Extroverted thinking, on the other hand, are one of the most active types. Extroverted thinking is about systematizing, organizing, and efficiency. For an extroverted thinking user, it might actually be harder to sit down and just think, not taking any action. Therefore, extroverted thinking users really have a preference for external action. Therefore, extroverted thinking users are great in terms of making things practical and just applying rationality and maybe common sense. But they might be sacrificing some depth and precision in that process. You can notice an extroverted thinking user as a person who usually gives directions, gives conclusions in their speech. They might sometimes even ignore the human aspect, highlighting the efficiency part. They can expect other people to work like a machine, and sometimes they even think of themselves as machines who never get tired and push themselves a bit too hard. Even though we have these extroverted thinking and introverted thinking users, it's easier for a human brain to divide things into two categories that are kind of the opposite of each other. But we all need extroverted thinking and introverted thinking users in our society, since they have different special characteristics. We should also not forget that even though you're an extroverted thinking or an introverted thinking user, those functions always work in cooperation. In the next video, I will be explaining what are the feeling functions that are also part of the judgment functions. So extroverted thinking and introverted thinking are part of judgment functions that are involved in assessing information and taking action. Thank you for watching, and comment below what are the things that you would want to learn more about. See you in the next video.